Okay, what's up, everybody? I am your host, Jeff Haseley. I am joined by Eagle Dan Turner, and we are going to talk to you about all of the waiver wire hot picks and such that you need to know about as you head into week 2 of the fantasy season. Dan, buddy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. This past week wasn't the greatest for me fantasy wise. I got a couple of close losses. I did win my Scott Fishbowl matchup though, so that was good. But I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to some waiver wires and get ready for week 2.
That's good. Yep, me too. I am ready to get at it, so let's do that. These are the things that we're going to talk about in this show. So, who are the top waiver wire pickups? We're going to go over 10 of them. We're going to talk to you about who you can drop because you might think, oh man, well, I want to pick this player up, but who do I drop? We'll let you know. We got some preemptive ads for next week. And we also have our defense special teams look ahead for those of you who have special or a defensive team in your league, in your format. So, that is it. We'll go first to who should you pick up? All right, so
that's the greatest effect. I love it so much.
our top pickups here for the first pick, and Dan, I want you to say a few words about our first pick here.
All right,
and that's Jaylen Warren, the running back out of Pittsburgh. Obviously, there's some issues with Najee Harris. That Lisfranc injury, it looks like he's re-injured it, and he could be out for like 3 to 4 weeks, is what I'm hearing. So, what can you tell us about Warren and why you like him?
Well, I think with Warren, you touched on it to begin with. I think that the Steelers love to have that bell cow type back. Najee Harris was that back for them, and he was dealing with an injury in the offseason. But now with him being out, it's pretty much Warren's job. They don't really have much depth at running back behind him. It's just Benny Snell, as far as I know. So we should be looking to him to get a majority of the work in the backfield. Not that Pittsburgh was doing fantastic, but if you're looking at waiver wire pickups, you're looking for guys that can get you a bunch of opportunities, and Warren is probably going to have the most opportunities of anyone that's going to be available this week. So that's why we have him at number 1. So I think definitely if you're looking for a running back, if you somehow have, Cam Akers who scored you no points this past week, or you just want to even, keep away with the guy that has Najee Harris and deny him his backup. If you didn't draft him, that's also, some good strategy there too. So I definitely think that Jaylen Warren warrants the top spot in our top pickups.
All right, and obviously Najee Harris is most likely coming back, like week 6 or so, whatever that might be. But at this particular time of the season, you want to have players who can get you points, and Warren being the starter now, if Harris is out, that warrants some interest. So Jaylen Warren, our first guy. All right, Jeff Wilson. This is the running back who's going to be taking over for Elijah Mitchell. Now, I also kind of like Jordan Mason here. Jordan Mason was the number 1, graded running back by PFF in the preseason, which is interesting. I like what I saw out of him. I know a lot of 49ers faithful also like what they saw. However, Jeff Wilson's the one who has the experience. Shanahan knows him pretty well. We know that he can score touchdowns inside the 2-yard line. So can Deebo Samuel, of course. But Wilson is the guy who, hopefully will pick up the slack here, at least early on. And I'm thinking Jordan Mason may have some play as well. So I'm a little iffy on this, but I understand that the urgency here to get Wilson, because I think that he can do something, at least in week 2, to warrant starting him for your starting roster. And any of your thoughts there, Dan?
Yeah, I think what Wilson has going for him is familiarity. The coaches, this is the spot that he's been in before. Even just a couple of years ago, it wasn't that long ago, in 2020, he led the 49ers in rushing. So it's not like he doesn't have experience being able to do this. He had 2 games last year with at least 15 touches, and he scored 14 PPR points in both of them. So he's built, and he knows how to carry the load if necessary. I know that Mason is everyone's flavor of the weekend on
Darling.
Darling, exactly. And we're going to be talking about him a little bit later. But I just think, the same thing that Jaylen Warren has going for him is that Jeff Wilson is going to get, we think, a majority of the work. The coaching staff trusts him. So, he's in this spot where he's had to, when the primary running back has been injured, come in and he has performed well for your fantasy team. And this is going to be another year of doing exactly that. So that's why, with him there, and Mason also will be, a name to watch out for. But I'm putting more faith, at least for now, in Wilson.
Yeah. Plus, he was the one who took over for Mitchell when he got hurt last week in the quagmire in Chicago.
Slip and slide.
Yes, exactly. And we can't forget about Tyrion Davis-Price. However, he was a healthy scratch, so you kind of understand that he might not be, that high up on the depth chart there. So, all right, number 3, Jashon Dotson, wide receiver out of Washington. He had a great first week. So did Curtis Samuel. We'll talk about him in a bit. But Dotson, the rookie, first-round pick, he's got the pedigree. And, a lot of people are talking about him. I think people weren't necessarily as high because it's Washington. It's Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. And, what is this Commanders offense going to be like? Well, they seem to be pretty decent last week against Jacksonville. We got a little bit of clarity on what the Commanders can do. Of course, a second week is going to help us a little bit more. They're going to go to Detroit. Is that a cupcake? Perhaps. Philadelphia scored, 38 points on them?
30. Well, the offense scored 31 points. They also got pick 6.
Okay. So Dotson, someone that I think is a healthy add here, and I wouldn't be too upset if you took him ahead of Wilson. I guess it just kind of depends on what you have a need for. Do you have a need for a receiver? Do you have a need for running back? Dotson, I have him, and sort of, well, you do too, as we put this together collaboratively.
Together.
We have him as our first wide receiver. So more thoughts on Dotson for you.
Yeah. So, paired with Samuel, but he ran more routes and played more snaps than Samuel did. Not that Samuel was a slouch. And, he had 5 targets, which is a decent amount, 3 receptions and the 2 touchdowns. And we don't really advocate for touchdown chasing, but it's obvious that, Carson Wentz and the coaching staff trust Dotson to be out there and to perform. And he's the kind of pick up where, you can keep him around pretty much all season if he stays healthy. His role should only grow from here on out. And the fact that they trust him as much as they do this early is a great, indicator of where his value is going to be, for the rest of the season. So that's why we have him as our first wide receiver. I think his upside is much more than Curtis Samuel's is. Mm-hmm. I think, he's going to be more involved in the offense going forward. And Wentz, he played pretty good. I was one of the guys that wasn't that high on Wentz, but, the things that he does well match up really well with how Jashon Dotson plays, and he was a really good rookie coming out. So I think that, he definitely warrants the number 3 spot right here.
Yeah. Plus Washington also went 3 wide quite a bit. And if it wasn't 3, it was because Samuel was in the backfield. So he should see plenty of snaps, just as we saw earlier. Let's see, what did he have? That's 88% of the offensive snaps. Yeah, McLaurin was 90% and Samuel 71. Right, so he's even ahead of Samuel in terms of probably the Z receiver. Right, so I would, we like Dotson. So let's go to number 4. Why not? Curtis Samuel, right? This is our
see what we did there.
This is our Swiss Army knife. And I am fine if you take Samuel over Dotson because you want a little bit more flair in your possible production, right? Because Samuel, it seems like he can do both ways, right? With running the ball as well as catching. We know in Carolina that he was really strong on third downs. In fact, I think he was top 5 in third down receptions before the last year that he was with Carolina, I believe it was, when he had a top 25 finish. So he's definitely someone who can be a part of the offense that we're seeing already. He was, of course, hurt last year, had that groin injury, then he re-injured that groin, and that was pretty much it. And now he's making up for lost time. So yeah, we like Samuel, we like Dotson, and I think the reason why we like them here is because they're not claimed. People just kind of forgot about them and Carson Wentz and the Commanders offense said, whoa, Lee Corso, not so fast. So that's where we are with Dotson and Samuel.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Samuel got 11 targets. Obviously, he's not going to probably be averaging that the entire year, but if you can find 11 targets on the waiver wire, you go and get them. I mean, it just really is as simple as that. He's definitely a part of the offense. He has familiarity with the coaching staff from his days in Carolina. I mean, really, all you can ask for both Dotson and Samuel is opportunity, and they both, like you said, you mentioned the percentages before. They're going to be on the field a bunch of the time, and that's what you need for someone that you're picking up off the waiver wire.
Exactly. All right, number 5, Jamaal Williams. How about this guy, right? He also got some goal line touches in addition to having some. If I'm looking at his carry share here versus DeAndre Swift, let's see. Swift had, 67% of the snaps. Jamaal Williams only had 33%. So when he was on the field, he did the job. He did well. And I mean, I like Williams just simply as an injury risk possible. If something happens to Swift, Jamaal Williams becomes like the guy there in Detroit. And the fact that he scored 2 goal line touchdowns last week, of course, one in mop-up duty there. But Jamaal Williams is someone that I think you can target, and he would be our 3rd running back on this list this week.
Yeah. I mean, you got to listen to what the coaches tell you here. I mean, every time that the Detroit Lions got within 10 yards of the end zone, Swift came out and Jamaal Williams came in. And that's important. I mean, that's a role that can be on your fantasy team. Obviously, you can't predict touchdowns. It's a big, but it seems that Detroit's offense is a little bit better than even we expected. They can move the ball down the field. They have a talented group of pass catchers, and DeAndre Swift is definitely the more dynamic running back in that. But in the end zone, if you're taking Swift out and putting Jamaal Williams in, you're going to want Jamaal Williams because, like you said, he didn't have that many carries, and he still got a bunch of points. He had 11 carries for 28 yards, but those 2 touchdowns mean everything. Obviously, you can't predict touchdowns, like I said.
Right.
But with it seems that the coaching staff trusts him on the goal line more than they do Swift for whatever reason. I know that's not something that Swift people want to hear because they wanted Swift to be the 3 down, to be that bell cow, but that just isn't what Detroit is doing in this configuration. So, to have a guy that's going to be trusted down at the goal line, there's definitely some value there as our 3rd running back.
Yep, I agree. And plus, he's also a team leader too. If you've seen the Hard Knocks, right? Yeah. So the coaches like him, the players like him. He's just a likable guy, and now he's coming through in the clutch. So yeah, Jamaal Williams, we like him. All right, Kyle Phillips, the rookie in Tennessee. All right, so this guy, Kyle Phillips, had a 29% team target share, which led the Titans. The next closest was Treylon Burks at 16%. So Phillips he's kind of like your. I said this earlier. He's kind of like a smaller Adam Thielen. And I like what I see in Phillips. He's getting open. He's one of these slippery receivers who can get open, and it's looking like he might be if week 1 is any indication, he's someone that is going to be a big part of that offense in terms of target share. 29%. So yeah, that's pretty impressive there. What do you got to say about Phillips?
Yeah. I mean, 9 targets, 6 catches, and 66 yards, which were all leading the team in every one of those categories. People, expecting Treylon Burks to be, that guy with the draft capital, but what if it's just Kyle Phillips in that alpha role? I mean, it's possible. I mean, he obviously has the trust of Ryan Tannehill with the 9 targets right out of the gate in week 1. It wasn't like, he gets open, and that's something that rookie receivers sometimes have some trouble doing. But if it gets consistently open week to week, like he's been doing in week 1, there's no reason in PPR why he can't be, a wide receiver 3 flex, starter for you for the rest of the year. There isn't that many pass catchers in Tennessee to worry about to begin with. It's really Burks, Woods, and Phillips. So Phillips can even continue with that kind of target share, which is insane to me.
And he only had 46% of snaps.
Right. And that's so less than 50%, but yeah, that's even more incredible to have less than 50% of the snaps, but still have that kind of target share.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost unheard of.
Yes. All right. So we like Kyle Phillips as our 3rd wide receiver on this list. Next, Jerick McKinnon. And, if you saw the game, you saw the Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a really good game, and the Chiefs used him especially early on, and then they kind of let him sit for a bit, and McKinnon came on, and we saw Isaiah Pacheco also at the end of the game, and it didn't really look like it mattered who the heck was running back for the Chiefs, that he was able to do things against Arizona. I've got McKinnon, or we have McKinnon here because he was the next in line behind Edwards-Helaire, and then there was Pacheco. We like Pacheco. We like what he does. He's speedy. He's the sexy pick. But McKinnon has a little bit more experience, of course, veteran leadership there as well. So yeah, McKinnon would be our guy ahead of Pacheco, but I think he could definitely have a role, especially if something happens to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So any other thoughts on your end?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Like once, CH was done, it was McKinnon's turn. So there's definitely some value in that. He got a couple targets in the passing game, as well as a couple rushing opportunities. So, if anything were to happen to CEH, and even without that, I mean, if the Chiefs are going to put up that kind of point totals the rest of the year, then there's going to be plenty of time for McKinnon to perform in. So I would definitely, it's definitely one of those end of the roster guys. You might not, while everyone is going crazy over Pacheco and spending like their fab or whatever. That's McKinnon is one of those guys where maybe you can get him a little cheaper.
That's right.
Just because he isn't a name or like a hyped guy that you can probably sneak onto the end of your bench and then see how he performs.
Right. And like, for example, if you wanted to go after, say, Wilson or Warren or even Jamaal Williams and you weren't able to get them, you could at least have McKinnon there as a possible, backup to those. So this
consolation prize.
Consolation prize. This is, of course, for those of you who have your FOB money. If you're just doing waiver pickups, how based on like record, well, then, that you can pick whoever you want, whoever's available. So
yeah. Honestly, with McKinnon, I even look, if you're just doing waivers, just see if he isn't even picked up. He could be one of those that just clears waivers and you just go and get him.
Yeah.
You don't have to use a waiver spot on him.
Yeah. He's almost a preemptive pickup, which we'll get to here. But we like McKinnon. All right. Hayden Hurst, first tight end on the list. And Hayden Hurst makes the top tight end here. There's not a whole lot of tight ends that are really doing much as far as the waiver wire is concerned. I think there's some tight ends that you may already have, like Hunter Henry. I'm just thinking maybe in like that 12 to 15 range. Hunter Henry, Irv Smith, guys that haven't really quite done enough yet that you're just kind of holding on. Well, Hurst is someone that you could potentially target here. And he's almost like a preemptive pickup as well. But former first round tight end pick, usually those do well. Cincinnati may have an opportunity to turn to him if T. Higgins is out with his concussion and neck injury, whatever that might be. So yeah, Hurst is someone that we like that you can target. I'm just kind of looking at his target share and where he fell. Let's see. He was 15% team target share, 30% to Jamar Chase. Just looking down the line here. Mixon, believe it or not, 17%, second on the team, followed by Tyler Boyd and then Hurst. Hurst and then Boyd. And 78% of his snaps, he ran a route. So, we like Hurst. We like the Bengals offense. We think they can score points as long as that offensive line can stay upright. Hurst, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys where, if you don't have a tight end or you have a tight end that, didn't perform like Golcoman, who scored nothing.
Right.
Not that I know, because I don't have my player. but Hurst is definitely the exact guy you want to pick up. Like you said, T. Higgins might be out for a game or two with that concussion. And as soon as he went out, Hurts was a vital part of the game plan. He outperformed even Tyler Boyd. So if they can continue with that, with Boyd moving up into the receiver role opposite Jamar Chase, and Hurts has always been not unspectacular but solid tight end everywhere he's been. He's never going to be the Kelseys or the Wallers or
or
the Pitts. But he just does what he's asked, and that's a valuable thing for your fantasy team. You're looking at, he had 8 targets, 5 receptions for 46 yards. So you're looking at, between 8 and like 12 points a week.
Mm-hmm. And if he scores, it's bonus.
Right, exactly. So if you don't, have a viable tight end now, that's something that, your lineup can't just be all, studs. You have to have those guys that just give you that nice floor of points, and that's exactly what Hayden Hurst was going to give you. He's going to get 5 targets a game, 5 to 8 targets. He's going to get some reception. He's going to get you those points, and that's something that's valuable, as we've all learned from the zeros. We've all got it from Cole Kmet. Thank you very much. But but seriously, that's a guy who's basically free now, who who's part of a great offense, who the offense performed terribly. It probably isn't going to happen again. I doubt Joe Burrow is going to have as bad a game as he did in week 1, honestly, for the rest of the year. So that's someone that you can get and start immediately, honestly.
Yep. All right, good. 2 more. Marcus Mariota, our first quarterback on this list. And we've got Mariota because he's a rushing quarterback. And we know that rushing quarterbacks tend to give you more production. And if he can do anything with his arm, as well as in addition to his legs, he's someone that we want to target. And he also scored a rushing touchdown and did some things in week 1 that was impressive. So Marcus Mariota is our top quarterback because of his ability to run. Any stats you want to throw onto that one there, Dan?
I think you did pretty well. At 72 yards, 12 carries with a touchdown, and he also chipped in 215 passing yards because he still needs to throw the ball as a quarterback. And the Falcons' offense wasn't as bad as we maybe were thinking it would be. He had, some decent production, and like you said, the rushing gives him a really good floor. I mean, it's a tough matchup this week with the Rams coming to town after them getting smoked by the Bills. So they're going to be looking for a range. But I think that with his rushing floor intact, and the fact that he's shown that he can be a decent to viable passer as well, proves that he should be our top quarterback out of the week.
There you go. And you could also perhaps even throw Geno Smith on that. In that mix
Geno
as well,
Smith,
right? I mean, he didn't make the list because we had this list kind of beforehand, but still, I think we should throw Smith on there. Our last one, we have Carson Wentz, and we talked about Washington, what they were able to do so far, and you mentioned a little bit about Wentz, but we have him below Mariota just because of Mariota's rushing ability. Wentz, at one time or another, used to know how to run. But that's not really his calling. However, perhaps, maybe he's in the right system. He's got the right people. And the stars might be aligned here for Wentz. We have 1 week of clarity on him, and so far, so good.
Yeah, absolutely. He did throw for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I mean,
no matter what else you can say about his rushing ability or how, like, even myself, who obviously isn't the biggest fan of Wentz since he left Philly. I mean, that's he's a weak winner, honestly. If you're going to be having those kind of stats, those kind of stats are top 10 stats for a quarterback.
Super flex king.
Exactly. So he wasn't drafted pretty much really anywhere in one quarterback or even as a backup in 2 QB. So if he's available, he has the trust of the coaching staff, and as we detailed with Dotson, Samuel, and McLaurin, he has the weaponry now around him to continue to perform to that level. Is he going to be 300 plus and 4 touchdowns a week? Probably not, because it's still Carson Wentz. But he does give some hope with that. He can be more consistent week to week, where he can be a viable fantasy starter for you.
Right, he's the surprise so far right now. I mean, 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's nothing to sneeze at. So yeah. Amen. So those are our top 10 pickups. Let's talk about who you can drop. Yes. Okay. Who we can drop. And what do we got? We got Mike Gesicki, the tight end in Miami. He didn't really do much of anything. If anything, it was the Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle show. Literally, that's it in terms of passing and receiving. Mike Gesicki didn't do much. There was talk about him being traded. Is that a possibility, do you think? I mean, what's your take on Gesicki? You were the one who brought him up, so I want you to talk about him.
Yeah, I think that it's time to let go of Gesicki a little bit here. I mean, like even before, like you said, before the season even started, he was it was going around that he was going to be, on the trade block. So it's obvious that the Dolphins don't have as much faith in him as we would like. And he had his target share for week 1 was 3%. So I mean, he just wasn't getting the ball. And
Nobody really, except for Waddle and Hill.
Yeah.
That's it.
So if that's going to be what the offense is, and why shouldn't it be? Because it's Waddle and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
He just doesn't gonna get the type of usage either by targets or in catches that we're going to need for him to be a viable starter in fantasy.
Not someone that you can rely on, and we want people that you can rely on your roster, right? So yeah, I agree. What about Wandel? Wandel has that knee injury. It's kind of a minor injury, but I mean, you've got Kadarius Toney, I think, who didn't really do much at all, anything week 1, but we've got him ahead of him on the depth chart. The Giants, I don't know, man. We have Wandel Robinson on here because he just didn't do much, and we think that he's not really someone that is going to rise to the occasion. We think, at least not for like these smaller leagues, for sure.
Right.
Any more thoughts on Wandel?
I think that he's just, even without the injury, he wasn't that high up the depth chart to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
You had Sterling Shepard, Galladay was still playing. Someone named Richie James apparently is the greatest receiver on the Giants right now. So he just isn't on the field. It's pretty much the same argument we have with Gesicki. Even when he was healthy, before he got injured, he wasn't getting enough snaps in order to be a viable receiver for fantasy. And with these other people, showing up like Dotson and Samuel, you can afford to you don't have to wait for him. You can just cut him and go find someone else.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins. I think we can put the week 1 wonder to bed. He really didn't do much of anything in Green Bay, and that was without Allen Lazard on the field. Yeah. It was kind of and this is kind of what I thought was going to happen in Green Bay, kind of a mixture of involvement everywhere, right? Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Robert Tonyan. Nobody had over a 14% team target share. The running backs were involved, especially Aaron Jones. Let's see. Oh, actually, AJ Dillon had a 17% target share. He must have had one more target than Jones or so. But the combination of those two plus the receivers, no one's really standing out as of yet. Now we might see more next week. I think they play Chicago at home in Lambeau Field. But
that's good.
The frozen tundra.
NFL Films is on your line right now.
Right. So Sammy Watkins, yeah, goodbye. All right, Robert Woods. Now, Dan, this is all you, man.
This is all me.
Why are you saying Robert Woods? Please defend yourself. It seems like, shoot, he's like 1 year away from being a really, really good receiver, except for that ACL that he had, and now he's coming back. Is it a result of him? Is it the recovery or is it the offense? What's your deal?
It's the offense. He had, let me just look up. He had 74%, routes run when he was on the field. But he only was targeted 6% of the time. So he's on the field, but he's not getting the targets. He had 1 catch for 12 yards.
That's more than Allen Robinson. So why aren't we dropping Robinson?
Well, if it were up to me, we would. But you told me I wasn't allowed to do that. So we're not talking about dropping Allen Robinson. But I just think, the Rams, in Robinson's case, are historically a more pass-oriented offense than the Titans are. I just don't think the Titans have enough passing targets to go around to support both Burks and Woods and Kyle Phillips. I just think that Robert Woods is the odd man out in this situation. So I just think that, I'd rather have Phillips than Woods.
Okay, that was my question to you. Like, if we're looking ahead, we got the crystal ball, and we're in week 6, or we're looking ahead to week 6, and we're seeing who has what so far in 5 games already for the Titans. Is Kyle Phillips ahead of Robert Woods?
Absolutely. I think he's ahead of him now.
Okay. All right.
I would put him ahead now.
That's why we like to listen here, Dan. Stuff like this, right? I mean,
also to be fair, Robert Woods is not a spring chicken, and he did have that ACL tear. So maybe it takes a year to come back fully from that kind of injury, and he suffered it pretty late in the season last year. So maybe it's going to take a couple of weeks for him to be up to 100% speed. I just think that there's no reason to wait around on the second or third option on the Tennessee Titans offense. I'd rather just go with more upside with the Kyle Phillips pick.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry had 81% team rushing share, which is surprisingly it's not higher. But
right. Well,
anyway.
Dontrell Hilliard decided to become the Titans wide receiver 1 for a couple of plays there that week. So he's another one too. He's another one that is going to take targets away from Woods if he keeps performing like he did, in week 1. So that's just even less targets for Woods to acquire.
All right, so let's see who we can target here coming ahead. Our preemptive pickups. All right, so who do we got? We already talked about Jordan Mason. If you recall, he was the number 1 running back in the preseason, according to PFF. The 49ers faithful love this guy. They think that he's perhaps the future. But right now it's Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson's the one who took over for Elijah Mitchell, who has that MCL injury, who could be out 2 to 6 weeks. 2 to 6 weeks. Oof. It's 2 or 6. I guess we'll figure that out.
It's a range.
That's a range, yeah. But Jordan Mason, yeah. I mean, he didn't. Was he active? Was he active week 1?
I think he was. Yeah, TDP wasn't active.
That's right. And but it was Wilson who got the play, and Mason, though, we like him as someone who could maybe be the guy that Kyle Shanahan leans to. We know that he kind of leans to the hot guy. Perhaps Mason could be that guy if it's not Wilson, right? Absolutely. All right, Kenny Gainwell. This is your neck of the woods here, man. Eagles. What do you got?
So Kenny Gainwell, he did really well as the Eagles' number 2 back. He had 5 carries for 20 yards and a touchdown, and then 2 catches for 12 yards on 4 targets. He was the 2-minute offense running back in Philly, and I know that. With Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders in front of him, the rushing attempts won't be as plentiful as maybe a couple of us would like. But I think that he's starting to gain a little more trust with the coaching staff. I think that there's value in him being the 2-minute running back, especially towards the end of halves. So I think he's going to be someone that can score you a couple of points here and there with the upside of if Miles Sanders were to. Something would happen to Miles Sanders that he would get the job and he would become a much more valuable running back.
There you go. All right. Kenny Gainwell. Eno Benjamin was a running back who took over for James Conner when Conner got a breather, got some rest, and he looked pretty good doing it. And he scored a touchdown too, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't he, Dan? Or did he not? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Okay. If he did, he probably would have been higher on our waiver.
Yes. No touchdowns.
That's why we're looking at Eno Benjamin as someone who could potentially be the running back to have if something happens to often injured James Conner. Mm-hmm. So Benjamin is on our list as someone that you can target in that regard and perhaps beat everyone else to the punch. That's what these preemptive pickups are all about.
Absolutely.
And your thought? Any other thoughts that you want to share there?
I completely 100% agree with you. He's going to be the guy if James Conner goes down, and he had enough work. He had 4 carries for 28 yards and then 3 catches for 33 yards. So he's one of those players where even if he doesn't end up starting, he's not going to be a black hole in your bench. He's going to be someone where you can plug in maybe a flex spot and gain a couple points during the week. So it's not just like a pure handcuff where he doesn't have any standalone value. He has a little bit of standalone value. With, as you said, the job's going to be his if anything were to happen to Conner.
All right, and lastly here, Kendrick Bourne. I don't know did you hear about the situation in New England? How Bourne was kind of like in the doghouse for Belichick and the coaching staff, and Robert Kraft said something. He's like, we got to get him more involved. Robert Kraft said this about Kendrick Bourne, and then Mac Jones, I think, went on to say something like, "Yeah, we're going to get Bourne more involved." This is a kind of a stab in the dark here as someone who could come in. I mean, you've got Jacoby Myers already. You have who's the other one?
So Aguilar.
What's that?
Nelson Aguilar.
And Nelson Aguilar. No, but also who's the other? Why can I not think of Devontae Parker? Thank you.
Parker?
Yes, I thought that it was in my own head. So yeah, Bourne is someone that we saw last year. Kind of have some value here and there. If you've got a deep bench, if you don't know who to add, we kind of like Bourne as someone who can do that, especially when the owner says you got to get this guy more involved. Wow, that was a crazy story. So, any thoughts? Any other thoughts? Is there someone that we didn't include that you wanted to say something about?
Just going back to Bourne a little bit, I think that's the first time I've ever heard Robert Kraft ever get involved in personnel matters in New England.
I know.
So it's definitely something to keep watch on for Bourne. And as for Gainwell and Benjamin with these preemptive pickups, we just want you to get them now before, like, if something were to happen, and then there's a big scrum and everyone tosses 100% of their fab dollars or uses their waiver wire, pick up on him. These are the type of guys you want to, even Mason as well. These are the type of guys, if you have a rookie that didn't pan out or isn't working on the bench or an extra roster spot, just pick them up now and store them and then see their value increase later.
There you go. All right, that's that. Next, streaming pickups. So if you got a defense, a special teams there, who can you target for the next couple weeks? This is what we've got. This is what we got. Here we go. So Cincinnati is our top defense to target, and this is probably you probably have the same idea as we do. They play at Dallas, and then they host the Jets, right? The Jets who scored, 7 points on the Ravens at home. The Jets who don't have Zach Wilson, even if they did, that's still a go. But they've got Joe Flacco, right? I mean, there's just some questions there, especially on the road. You get the Jets team on the road and get them down on the ropes. So yeah, we like Cincinnati. And then Cleveland, you could talk more about them. They look pretty good against Carolina, and they've got the same Jets and Pittsburgh. And, Pittsburgh with Mitchell Trubisky, he
was okay. He wasn't great.
Okay, right? But Cleveland, man, they're looking pretty good. They stopped the running game of McCaffrey and the Panthers. So yeah, I mean, those are the two teams that we like. Any other thoughts you want to share there?
Basically, anybody that plays Dallas, you should look to start, honestly, because they were honestly even worse than I expected them to look. Once CeeDee Lamb got taken out of the game, they had nothing. They had nothing. They couldn't do anything. They were the tight ends had to be held back to help block, and they're running 2-man routes. And now with Dak's injury, you have Cooper Rush starting. Yeah. I mean, Dallas is just honestly a black hole for fantasy value right now.
Yeah, I imagine having CeeDee Lamb. You got to do something with that guy. Piggybacking with you on Dallas here. Tampa didn't even look that good.
No,
and they beat them pretty handedly. I mean, Cincinnati going to Dallas. Dallas doesn't even really have home field advantage anymore. Have they ever really? I mean, no, they're just they're sitting down in their luxury seats. Even the general admission seats are luxury. They're looking at the huge 300-foot screen TV, whatever, probably bigger than that.
Yeah,
much bigger than that.
3,000. It's much bigger than that. It's not 300-foot anything. You don't pay $7 million for 300-foot video screens. Last time I checked,
3,000 foot screen, whatever it is. Anyway, yeah. So I'm gonna have Dallas fans angry at me.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, those are the guys that we're targeting. I mean, you could also throw Cincinnati in as a survivor pool team pick. I mean, just ride whoever Dallas plays.
If anyone is left in Survivor after last week, especially if you picked the Broncos for all your Survivor pools, like somebody on this show did, not naming any names, Dan. But if you're still alive, definitely Cincinnati is definitely a good pick.
Yep. Well, that's what we got here, man. That's pretty much our show. Dan, shoot, what do we got going on at Champions Round that we can talk to people about?
So we got our games coming up. We got Daily Dozen, which have some awesome prizes for the weekly and monthly leaders on the leaderboard there.
Oh yeah, the Justin Jefferson signed jersey.
Yeah. The monthly winner gets a Josh Allen signed helmet. So that's
So play Daily Dozen, guys. If you're not doing that, go right now. Go to the Champions Round app. If you have an iPhone, if you've got an Android phone, go there. If you like to play over-unders and such, that's all it is. You have 12 that you need to pick. If you get 7 of them right, you win. You win money. You win your money back. If you get more than 7, you get even more money. Heck, if you get all 12, you get $1,200. Insane.
Let us give you money.
A couple, what was it, last week? I had 10 out of 12, Dan. I had 10 out of 12. Yes.
That must be nice. I've never been closer than like 6 of them.
Hey, I've also had 4 out of 12 before, but you know.
Yeah, 4 out of 12 and like the 3 out of 12. That's where you'll find me on most days. I'll be like slumming it down there with the incorrect people.
So all you have to do is really just play that religiously, play it every day. And if you're on the leaderboard at the end of the week, boom, Justin Jefferson jersey. At the end of the month, or signed jersey. At the end of the month, a signed Josh Allen helmet. Kind of like, I don't know, can you see that helmet right over there?
Just like that one.
Just like
Josh
that.
Allen signature. That's Jeff's. You don't get that one specifically, but
but that's all right. That's cool.
Yeah. Also, we have a new game, Sunday's Best. You draft 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end. It's basically, for the slate of Sunday games, and it's a mini fantasy game. You score the most points and you win. So that's something we rolled out very recently. I think just this last week. Check that out as well.
You can do 5 to 8 teams. So just kind of picture you and 4 other people drafting 4 roster spots in snake format.
Yeah, and invite your friends and dunk on them.
Get some of your friends that don't really know football that well, and challenge them to a game. And if you can win, hey. Although is it completely random on who's in the league there, or who's in the draft, I should say?
I believe that you can invite people, and
so you can do a private league, or a private draft.
Yeah,
sorry,
you can. Right, you can do that. So you can invite who you want.
Oh yeah, like if you're someone who's kind of smart and stuff like that, and you got a bunch of frat buddies who are just out and not paying attention, say let's play this game. There you go. Sunday's Best, and it's only on the Sunday games too. That's true.
Yes, only no Mondays or Thursdays or any other day that has football. Only Sundays.
All right, man. Dan, good first show, man.
Good first show.
We look forward to doing it for week 3. We'll have more clarity coming into week 3, and who knows, maybe are we going to be talking about Carson Wentz again? The Eagles play the Vikings, right? Monday night?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. Justin Jefferson's probably...
It's not Washington. What am I thinking? Washington plays Detroit.
Carson Wentz hasn't been an Eagle for years, so I was just rolling with it.
What's my problem?
Please, if you have any Vikings, just start them against the Eagles, because Justin Jefferson's probably going to get 400 yards.
Damn.
Because John, again, doesn't know how to call a defensive game to plan to save his life. So...
All right.
Start all Vikings. That's my last bit of advice.
There it is. All right. Sweet. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Dan, the man, Eagle Dan. Right. We shall see you next week.
See you next week, everyone.
Have a great week, too, everybody. Get those waiver picks. Hope you get your guy. Let us know what you think.
See ya.
See ya.